President Barclay became a member of the Directors Guild in 1992 and began his service as a member of the African American Steering Committee in 93. He's served the DGA as a vice president since 1999. As chair of the DGA Political Action Committee, President Barclay has helped the DGA maintain an engaged and effective presence in Washington, D.C., and partnered with me and the IA in efforts of mutual benefit. Please help me in extending our congratulations and a warm IATSE welcome to the Directors Guild's new president, Mr. Paris Barclay.
Oh, sit down. You guys, thank you so much. We've had a few stem winders, as I call them today. This is going to be a little bit different because I'm in an emotional mood. I'm emotional because I want to thank President Loeb for his personal invitation to address the convention. It means a great deal to me. And I'm really honored here to speak about the future of our industry and to reaffirm the ties between the Directors Guild and the IA. Our National Executive Director, Jay Roth, I think, had the pleasure of speaking here at the last two conventions. And I said, Jay, why hasn't the president ever shown the IA the true props of coming out and speaking? And Jay said, I do not know. And so I said, I'll do it if Matt wants me, and I'm proud to be here. It's only been 1 month. Thank you. You know, I don't know much. I've been around the DGA for 20 years. I'm still learning, so I'm going to keep my remarks relatively brief, but there are some things I really want to talk to you about. My learning curve is just beginning, but I've had a really good foundation. I've actually grown up happily, as Senator Warren described, back in the day when it wasn't unusual to have a union household with two parents, both in the unions. My father worked as a foreman in a tile factory, and my mother worked in a glass factory until she became a social worker and maintained her union nest, even in that. And they had union wages, and it worked for us very well. So I know firsthand the power of this collective. I had 6 brothers and sisters. We virtually had our own chapter there in Harvey, Illinois. So I came to the Directors Guild committed to maintaining and expanding a world where we take care of ourselves by taking care of each other. Yeah, I see us all as a family, gaining strength and encouragement and even inspiration from being part of something greater than ourselves. Now, most of you already know a little bit about the Directors Guild. We only have 15,000 members, but we're in all forms of audiovisual production, feature films, commercials, new media, every genre of television. And the way I look at it, IATSE members and DGA members together make up the heart of the production unit. It's our collaboration, yes. It's us. It's our collaboration on the sets of this country that creates the world's finest entertainment and employs hundreds of thousands of people and engages billions around the world. Now, for more than 15 years now, the DGA and the IA have been working closely at an institutional level, sharing information, planning legislative strategies, and discussing the best issues and practices to move both of our organizations forward in the name of friendship and union solidarity. Now, that's the way our extended functional family works. And as far as I can tell, we're going to keep it working this way for the long haul. But this was not always the case. In the not too distant past, our two organizations spent far too much time basically ignoring each other's existence to our members and our industry's detriment. That is what I call dysfunctional. So thankfully, that period is over, in no small part thanks to the efforts of this man and his crew. His predecessors and our National Executive Director, Jay Roth. Now, in a world and an industry that's changing as rapidly as ours, I think it helps if we think of ourselves, rather than as two monolithic unions, but as a family, and a family that gives greater opportunity by growing stronger together, attacking whatever challenges we face. Now, in recent years, there's been a lot of challenges, and there's been the recession and the volatile economy, and a lot of us have been hit hard in the pocketbook with that. We've had a fight to keep film production and television production thriving in our individual states and in provinces where our members live. There's the fight against internet theft, which is legislative battles have waged, and you've heard a lot about that. There's the rise of new media production and internet distribution and the challenges and opportunities that that creates. Now, the growth of television also has been really interesting because while it's grown, feature films have been reduced, and that's had a big impact on our members in both unions. Now, I want to speak a little bit more about those issues in a moment, but first, I want to be clear that in order to face these ongoing challenges, a collaborative partnership between the IA and the DGA will continue to be vital to both of our members and our industry. We want to all climb into this big, big bus and roll together. That's our idea. Now, I don't know if it's still up here, but I really like the theme of Pillars of Success. You know, I've read the entire thing that's in the brochure there, and I strongly agree with President Loeb about those 4 pillars he's identified: leadership development, skills and safety, and communication and activism. Now, all are critical if we're going to be successful with our future challenges, and at least as successful as we've had in the past. But I'd like to build on it just a little bit. It's not exactly a pillar, but maybe it's a little bit of the foundation for all of them. What's supporting them in our minds is collaboration. Now, we're each a part of the creative organism. I know a lot of people think that there's only so many creative people that can be on a set. The way the DGA sees it is we're all part of a creative organism, and it's a family that functions best when it respects the fact that we're all willing to pitch in and help when help is needed. Now, you know, even as a kid, I would always do my part, from watching my younger brothers and sisters, and there were a lot of them, as I told you, to meeting my mother after she came home from work at 11 o'clock, and I'd have to carry this big stick to ward off the dogs from the neighborhood. You know, only the scale has changed today. Now I have more brothers and sisters, and now I have a bigger stick. To be successful as leaders, we really need to collaborate with one another and bring the best and the brightest ideas to the table in much the same way as we do on our sets each day. And in developing future leaders through the kinds of efforts that I've read about here, that's a model for unions across North America. The kinds of things you're doing are things that we need to take up as well. So I applaud you for that. And you can't teach skills and safety without bringing together the right people to teach and train. And activism is weak and maybe even irrelevant if you don't have the support of the many people who can affect change. And communication is essential to keeping our family functioning. Now, in the same way, for the DGA and the IA, working arm in arm as unified collaborators may be more important now than ever before. And this is one of the reasons why I particularly came to you today. I mean, I look at my set on Sons of Anarchy. I work daily there as a director and a producer, and it's a microcosm of how this collaborative family dynamic between IA members and the director's team can make some magic happen. I mean, last Friday, I'm in a production meeting, and we received a script a few days late, but nevertheless very good, but impossible to make in our 7-day schedule. You know, we're always asking, how are we going to pull this off? How are we going to make this happen? Shooting of this episode actually begins tomorrow with me directing, which is one of the reasons why I'm flying back right after that. So, as usual, I turn to my key grip, Bobby Thomas. Bobby's always been there since the very beginning of our season. I said, here we are again, Bobby. How are we going to pull this one off? And he said, the same way we always do. Together, one scene at a time. Together, one scene at a time. Yeah. It reminded me of why I'm in this business in the first place. I mean, I enjoy depending upon the kindness of strangers and people who aren't quite strangers. To me, they're family, and it's a family I can depend on. Now, I mentioned it's been getting a little bit crazy in our industry during the past few years. And of all the issues we face, the challenges regarding the production and distribution of film and video on the internet has created a lot of fear, a lot of confusion, and a lot of opportunity. Let me just take a minute to discuss some of the hype surrounding those few little words, new media. You know, I keep hearing it's going to change everything. We're going to be put out of work. The videos of piano-playing cats will replace primetime television. Actually, what I think we're going to get is cats and NCIS, you know, kind of NCIS feline division or something is probably what will happen. But this fear of technological innovation and the hype surrounding it, I think it's just fear. It's a movie we have seen before. I think the original title of the 1930s version was Sound Will Put Us in the Ground. And then there was the 1950s remake, which was Television, the Movie Killer. And then there was the 1980s follow-up, which is Cable, Strangles, the Networks. And these were quickly followed by a trilogy of more recent titles like The Horror of the VCR and The Dark Dawn of the DVD, and now the most recent arrival to your multiplex, New Media Gobbles Up the Universe. Well, the bottom line is, folks, it's not going to be that bad. Our industry and our unions have adapted and learned to thrive with each technological shift. For more than 75 years at the DGA and more than 120 years over here, and each time we're confronted by a new genre, a new means of distribution, a new technological advancement, here's what we did. We negotiated gains for our membership, because that's what we do. We continue to protect you, no matter what happens. But each adaptation has brought its own sort of special challenges to this protection and to the extension of our rights, which is our fundamental mission as entertainment industry labor unions. Therefore, it remains incumbent upon us to learn from the lessons of our forefathers and our foremothers. And one of the most important of those lessons is that solidarity remains our strength. We do not forget our family in this quest. And that solidarity is critical to effecting change when issues as significant as internet production and distribution can disrupt older business models. Now, we know the digital world is rapidly changing, and we also know that in all likelihood, new media will continue to grow as broadband and mobile access spreads, and more people are looking at everything on their phones and transferring what they have from computers and popping open everything to view on the bus. We know this is going to happen. They're going to want to watch wherever they want to watch the latest episode of Glee or Sons of Anarchy, and help to get my kids food on the table. Well, that's all good. But when the DGA began forecasting new media in 2006, we thought that the reuse of features, not television, would drive that business. And our studies now tell us that that hasn't been the case at all. You take a look at Netflix, prime example. Here's a company that developed a subscription service for features that is morphed primarily into streaming television episodes, but also developing their own original content. And they're not alone. There's Hulu and Amazon and many, many others, all seeking to provide audiences with online television content. But even with all this activity in the new online delivery systems, traditional television is thriving. And even with the hue and cry about the declines in network audiences, traditional television business is growing. The number of half-hour and one-hour episodes produced for all TV markets, network, basic cable, and premium pay channels, has grown at a compounded annual rate, and this is a fact, of 4.4% between 2005 and 2012, and that's a healthy growth, compounded annually. Basic cable originals are surging, in particular, and pay TV with high-quality series, like Boardwalk Empire and Homeland, are retaining viewers in large numbers. And in terms of reuse, which matters to us in our bottom line, some of the highest growth is in foreign free television markets, where the demand for network, basic cable, and premium pay TV programs continues to grow, and we expect this market to remain robust. Around the world, the things that we do together are the most desirable commodity, and that's something we can be proud of and something that's going to continue to remunerate us. But, on the other hand, it's no secret to people in this room, the feature film market's undergoing a different kind of change. In 2006, 204 films were released by the studios or their subsidiaries. By 2012, that number was reduced to 128. That's not including all the Iron Man movies. That's a 39% decline in total volume in just 6 years. That means fewer opportunities for all of us to make movies. One of the clear reasons for this trend is the dramatic decline in the home video market, which has significantly impacted the types of films that studios are willing to produce, drastically reducing those mid-sized movies that I used to love. They're not getting greenlit as much anymore. And those films that are lost are the kind that employ a significant number of our IA members. So the big question is there anything that we can do to reverse this trend? We think there is. And we think the answer is definitely tied to new forms of digital delivery and the control of internet theft. Now, the DGA and the IA have been working together for many years as part of a broader coalition to combat internet theft on the legislative front. I personally walked the halls of Washington with this man, knocking on doors, including the one at the big White House, trying to let them know our point of view on this. And in 2012, our coalition fought together for the passage of 2 bills that were introduced in Congress to address this problem. Now, these bills were never seen as an end to all digital theft, but we did believe they were an important part of a long-term battle plan. Unfortunately, a tidal wave, and I mean a tidal wave of mistruths, mostly centered on the erroneous claims that these bills would either censor free speech or break the internet, were popularized by internet companies, which reap billions of dollars in advertising on these illegal sites. Now, their myths quickly took root, and they succeeded in killing both bills. So, this defeat was historic. It's the first time in history that the internet lobby flexed its gigantic muscles to defeat a piece of legislation. We've had wide bipartisan support before that in Congress, and when do you see bipartisan support in Congress? It's rare. But that support was swept away in a tsunami of protests generated during an election year. However, the opposition alone cannot be blamed for the failure to pass those bills. We are continuing to examine our part, our coalition's part. What did we do? The guilds, the unions, the studios, and the networks that work together in support of this legislation. We have to determine what went wrong, and we have to adjust our strategies before we renew this fight. Now, the message should be obvious. We create an art form that is at the very core of American culture, a product that's the cornerstone of this economy, and it should be protected from those who want to steal it. Why this is news, I do not know. You know, if you break into my house and you steal my things, it doesn't matter how you steal them or what you put them in, whether you put them in a thumb drive or whether you steal them through a wire, you're still stealing things that I own, and that to me makes you culpable. And I'm gonna call Matt, and he's gonna beat you up. You know, we made that. We made that, to quote a famous phrase of this year. We worked hard to do it. We deserve our share of the pie whenever someone else uses it or gets to enjoy it. Now, one of the key takeaways from the defeat of these bills is that they did not develop a broad enough support with the American people. The public didn't understand why digital piracy is wrong, and they were not willing to support these efforts. We've got to help educate them so they understand what that's about, and that's one of the things that DGA hopes to work with you on. We've got to find a solution. We've got to find one that balances the rights of creative talent and craftspeople and together creates intellectual property. And we got to balance that with our partners on the other side. We got to protect their rights too as owners and as people who want to exploit that product. That means a new kind of collaboration will have to be found. And that's what I mentioned earlier. We'll have to work with each other in a different way. Studios and independent producers, with our colleagues abroad, and with all of those who care about the things we create. So I am confident. And I'd like to sort of wrap this up where I began, by acknowledging the most important collaborative efforts that are happening right here between the DGA and the IA, particularly as the DGA and our sister guilds prepare for a new round of negotiations, which has just started. It's important to know that we have a powerful ally in our corner when facing the combined weight of the studios and the networks. It's not unlike the comfort I felt when my big brother stood just a little bit out of my eye shine. When I was in 5th grade and I had to go up against that bully, he was right back there and ready to intervene if I needed him in that confrontation. Usually I didn't need him. A couple times he had to come in and throw some punches, but that's probably just personal information that you may not need to know. The professional and the volunteer leaderships of the DGA and the IA work together to protect our common economic rights in ways that you may not know or you may take for granted. But these rights and benefits we enjoy are the products of planning, hard work, and sometimes bitter struggle. And these rights and benefits can only be maintained in the same way. It's a continuing effort, and it requires participation from each of us. I'm confident that our two great organizations will continue to work together wherever we can on the challenges that lie ahead. We're a creative family, and we're built on communication, skills, safety, leadership, and passionate activism. And the stories we create collaboratively on sets each day throughout this country and beyond our borders have an enormous cultural impact. You know, when this collaboration really works, which in my 20-odd years of doing it is, you know, most all the time, we actually have a chance to inform the human experience. You know, I sometimes think that maybe we should even try harder, and we should try to inspire us, like former presidents did who stood in my chair that I'm in now. Our first president was Frank Capra, and we've had George Stevens, and we had Robert Wise as presidents of our guild. And I'm standing there with them and saying, they always tried to make a difference with some of the movies and not just entertain, and I want to do the same thing. It's the strength of that collaboration that's going to give me the power to do that, though, that collaboration with you. And that's the impact that our work is going to have, and that impact is going to be able to weather any storm that may be thrown or we may come up against. A great writer, whose name I forgot, once said, "I don't care about whose DNA is recombined with whose. When everything goes to hell, the people who stand by you without flinching, they're your family." And then I just want to close with one thing. I was asking my mother yesterday, because I said I'm going to speak to the IA, and she said, "What's the IA?" I said, "Mom, you're a union woman for 77 years practically. You don't know what the IA, oh, the IA, yes. Finally. She was a member of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. You know, that's what after she blew glass for a while, she actually got a job working as a social worker and became a member there. But now she's a retiree at 77, and she wrote to me, "As a retiree, once again, I'm a very active member of AFSCME, Illinois Retirees, Chapter 31, Local 163. We are currently working at keeping our pension benefits from drastic reduction after years of legislators using earmarked pension funds for other projects and now trying to recoup losses from retirees. A second major issue is health insurance, who pays and how much. This is currently being challenged in court. We have traveled to Springfield on buses, we're in Illinois, my mother, on buses to demonstrate and lobby legislators, written letters and emails, and held numerous public meetings. I don't know if it's worth it sometimes, but I feel we, or maybe it is just I, must stand up for ourselves. So I stand with the union." I couldn't think of a better description of the kind of person I want to be than what my mother said, even in retirement, and I hope that spirit is your spirit that'll keep our relationship and our collaboration strong in the years to come. Thank you, my family.